Chris Paul is making his farewell tour to the LA Clippers in his final season. So I'm excited for Chris Paul. I think this is well deserved. He does get a farewell season. But the biggest question here for him is, obviously, he's played a lot of time in the NBA. This is the guy who's played just about over 20 seasons in the NBA. And we got to rank Chris Paul and understand if he's really a top 5 point guard of all time. Because there's a lot of generations when we talk about Chris Paul of how good he is. And we've seen some people like myself, we've seen the early stages of Chris Paul. You got a lot of guys who kind of seen the back end of Chris Paul, which is about now in the previous 5 years of him going team to team to team to team and just getting crossed by Steph Curry and all type of stuff like that. So we got a lot of different age groups of Chris Paul, and now we have to figure out and distinguish if he is a top 5 guard. So right off the back, man, you got to hear everything he's done, because some people really forget how elite this guy is when we talk about CP3, the point guard, Chris Paul. 5-time leader in assists. He is a 6-time leader in steals in the NBA, 9-time all-defensive team, 11-time NBA All-Star, Rookie of the Year. He won MVP in 2012, 2013. Like, this is a guy, he's on the 75th anniversary team, top 100 players or top 75, whichever one they chose that year. But this is a guy who has made his way around the league and established all of the credentials from his elite play. 12-time All-Star. The only thing you can say about Chris Paul is that he has not gotten the ring, which a lot of people thought was deserved. However, with or without the ring, I still say Chris Paul is a top 5 point guard without a single doubt. Now, I don't even want to get extremely analytical, but from the standpoint of understanding the game, this already sets Chris Paul away from a lot of other guards who may have him beat in scoring or have him beat in height in other areas of the game. By IQ, Chris Paul is already top 5. He's top 5 in assists of all time. He's top 5 in steals of all time. Number 2 in both, right behind John Stockton, and nobody's catching John Stockton. So, if you've seen Chris Paul in the early days, you know he really did play defense. He was an on-ball defender. He was solid for the most part. And we obviously know anybody who still watches Chris Paul today can tell that the man can still pass the ball and find the open target. So those things alone for me is good enough to say Chris Paul is a top 5 point guard of all time, from the way he understands the game, from the way he facilitates, from the way he used to play defense, and from the way he presented himself as a leader and could actually help the flow of the basketball game from a point guard standpoint. This is a true point guard, in my opinion. Chris Paul, he's a top 5 point guard. I know there's a lot of names, because here's where it gets tricky. So a lot of people going to have some arguments because you bring up Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, guys like SGA, a lot of newcomers in the league. You throw some people in there of like, all right, I don't know if Chris Paul is better than this guy. And there are certain elements where Chris Paul may not be better than certain people. You might compare a Damian Lillard. We just finished talking about Damian Lillard. So if you do want to compare Chris Paul to some of these other guards that may be top 5, you have to do a full evaluation. You can't just say, oh, well, Steph Curry can shoot better than Chris Paul, so he got him beat in the top 5. Or Damian Lillard is a better shooter, so he's got him beat. Or he can score better, so he's better. And like, you got to do a full evaluation from a point guard perspective. How well can he get his teammates involved? How well can he control the offense? How well can he control the pace? How well can he find defenders and find out other ways to beat a defense from a creative standpoint with the ball in his hands? So this is like some of the things and the examples I think of. So I hear the Magic Johnson. I have Steph Curry in the top 5. Some people don't. I got Chris Paul in there. I got Isaiah Thomas in there. And that 5th slot is up for debate. And a lot of people can go a lot of different ways. But when we talk about point guards, Chris Paul is definitely in there, regardless of who you have at that 5 spot, whether he's 5 or someone else is 5. But I'll leave that 5th slot open, but I'm for sure throwing Chris Paul in there 1 through 5 somewhere, regardless of any era that you want to add in, guys. Steph Curry, Isaiah Thomas, and Magic Johnson, Steve Nash, Jay Kidd, all of the eras, combine them all. I'm throwing Chris Paul in there because this man, if you have a point guard, you want him to understand how the game is supposed to be played, you will have someone like Chris Paul be an example of, look how he orchestrates the offense. Look how he sets the pace. Look how smart he is with the ball. So to me, on this level, Chris Paul got a lot of people beat just because one of the IQ standpoint, and then also too, he was, come on, man, we can't play around here. We can't play around when we talk about scoring. We can't play around. Now, I know Chris Paul is mainly known for passing, facilitating, all of these other things. But when we talk about scoring, man, we can't sit here and act like Chris Paul wasn't him when scoring the ball and scoring at will. Like, we can't sit here and act like he couldn't go get a bucket at any time he really wanted to. And maybe I need to just pull up some Chris Paul highlights and put it on his clip. But at the end of the day, bro, he was getting up there when he was a small guard. We seen him dunk on people. He caught a couple of bodies. We seen him score on anybody at will, made any defender look silly. He was a hard person to guard and a hard point guard to guard at one point. So although he has gotten old and a lot of people forget of how talented he was offensively and defensively, you got to remember, you compare the SGAs, the Damian Lillards, the J Kidd, Steve Nash, a lot of other solid scoring guards in the league right now. You got to remember, man, Chris Paul was once one of the elites at scoring the ball as well. It wasn't his go-to because that wasn't what he looked to do. If he needed to score to help the offensive flow, he would do it. If he needed to facilitate to help the offensive flow, he would do that. And not every guard who can score better than him has that understanding of when to score and when to try to score. And also when trying to do those things, how to protect the ball. Like, come on, man. So to me, yeah, I easily give Chris Paul a top 5 conversation. Some honorable mentions there. It's a great amount of point guards that you could throw into this conversation, which is why personally I love it. But man, it's a huge amount because some people could argue Rondo. I don't think Rondo's top 5. First off, let me clarify that. I don't think Rondo is top 5, but from an IQ standpoint, Rondo has a lot of people beat from what he can do with the basketball and just his understanding of the game. Some people argue Russell Westbrook and what he did early on in his career. Some people, hell, still even argue Derrick Rose as a top 5 point guard. But for me, no, man, I gotta go. Chris Paul is in there on his farewell tour, and I'm happy for him, man, because this dude, I'm ready for it. First of all, I've been ready for him to retire for some time. I thought he should have retired when Dwayne Wade retired because it's been too long. He hasn't been extremely effective in the back end of his career like now. So I thought he should have been retired. So I don't know, man, but I'm excited to see this farewell tour. I doubt he does anything where it's like, he's wowing us every time. But yeah, man, that 5th slot, it's hard not to go like a John Stockton or even if you want to go even further back, a person could go Jerry West. Some people may say Kyrie, even though I think Kyrie is more of a 2 guard. But, a lot of people go back and forth. Oscar Robinson is in it. You got to have that conversation. So for me, out of all the legends who have played the game in the past, present, and maybe even in the future, but all throughout Chris Paul's luxurious career, Chris Paul is definitely a top 5 point guard to me, from the way he understands the game, from the way that he can distribute, score at will at one point, and also play in defense, man. This dude is second in steals all time. He's second in assists all time. His understanding of the game, it sets him apart from a lot of other people. So to me, Chris Paul is 1,000% top 5, and we can't act like he couldn't score the ball just as good as a lot of guys today when Chris Paul was in his prime. He dunked on people. He caught bodies. He made threes. He could create a shot at any time and score on anybody, and also throw a nice lob or a dime to a center down low to get the easy bucket. So I think he's definitely top 5. The other people in that conversation, obviously Magic, Isaiah Thomas. I'm going Steph Curry in there, and this is no specific order, but Chris Paul got to be in there. And then that 5th slot, maybe you go John Stockton, maybe you go Jerry West, maybe you go Oscar Robinson. Oh, I think Oscar Robinson probably got it. If for the 5th slot, I think Oscar Robinson probably got it. But true point guard, Chris Paul is 1,000% top 5. And it's nothing anybody can ever say to me to convince me otherwise. I would love to hear something. If somebody got something where you like, ain't no way Chris Paul going top 5. I'm not standing for it. He's not top 5. We putting Dame in there. We putting Steve Nash in there. We're putting J Kidd in there. All right, well, please let me know why you say that, because I can't think of a single reason throughout his career and everything he's done. And I'm someone who's watched Chris Paul from like early on in his career, Charlotte Hornet days when he was him, rookie of the year days. Like, to me, there's no, man. I haven't forgot how elite this man was. So I got to know, if you don't have Chris Paul top 5, why you ain't got him top 5? Second in assists behind John Stockton. Second in steals. This is some stuff. It's not getting touched. It's not getting touched. Because J. Kidd is done playing. Steve Nash is done playing. Them the only people who could have caught him. Westbrook is still going, but Westbrook got some ways away, so it ain't happening.